Suddenly I'm falling. I'm falling upright.
England is so powerful. But when a great power like that strikes defenseless people, it shows its brutality, its own weakness, especially when those people do not strike back. But if we riot, if we fight back, we become the vandals and they become the law.
See, I think there are two ways in which people are controlled. First of all, frighten people, and secondly, demoralize them. The top 1% of the world's population own 80% of the world's wealth. It's incredible that people put up with it, but they're poor, they're demoralized, they're frightened, and therefore they think perhaps the safest thing to do is take orders and hope for the best.
What I'm doing is putting the unreal amongst the real and challenging people to notice. Subvertising's what I do. Subvertising is the opposite of advertising. It's flipping it on its head, sticking it back to the man.
Our test and trace system is as good as or better than any other system anywhere in the world, and yes, it will play a vital part in ensuring that we do not have a second spike this winter.
The test and trace set up by the government has been absolute bullshit. And the real people who should have got that 37 billion are the nurses who've been offered a paltry 1% pay rise after all that clapping. And I mean, I'm quite upset that there hasn't been, people haven't taken to the streets on behalf of the nurses.
The NHS test and trace system, which is likely to cost the taxpayer £37 billion, failed to prevent lockdowns, and there is no clear evidence that it had cut the number of coronavirus infections.
I will not cease from mental fight, nor shall my sword sleep in my hand, till we have built Jerusalem, in England's green and pleasant land.
Being discontented with power, that whole thing is never going to go away, is it? There's always going to be them and us, and there's power, and there's the people suffering from the power.
There is a major incident, Grenfell Tower, W11 1WH at the moment. The entire emergency staircase is aflame. No one can get in or out of the building. We need people here urgently.
72 people died, no one gets arrested. I just don't get it. If it was wealthy people in that block, I think we'd have had a very different outcome.
There have been suggestions that in part the tragedy was caused by either racism or policies of class. Are these suggestions correct?
I think if either of us were in a fire, whatever the fire brigade said, we would leave the burning building. It just seems that common sense thing to do.
Bandit country, with gypsies, pikeys, tramps and thieves, car wash warriors, donkey punchers. There's no point in getting up early. I'll lie in bed and stare at the wall.
People can be made to enjoy a state of affairs which, by any decent standard, they ought not to enjoy. The enjoyment of servitude.
You're like a serial offender, so I've been collared quite a few times for criminal damage and that sort of thing, which is a little bit annoying because you do get put in a cell for a little while.
There has been another horrific incident at a garment factory in Bangladesh. An 8-story building collapsed today, killing at least 145 people and injuring hundreds of others. This just months after a fire killed more than 100 people and put the unsafe working conditions at many factories in the global spotlight.
It was pure chaos. A giant plaza with a market and several clothing factories inside. During morning rush hour, it simply collapsed. Officials discovered cracks in the building yesterday, but workers say they had no choice but to go in. We didn't want to go up in the factory, she says, but management forced us to go and said there was no problem with the building. As well as the dozens killed, over 600 people were injured.
If you own clothes that were made in Bangladesh, this is where they come from.
If you take something like Pretty Little Thing, you had the exploitation of workers. What I'm doing is shining a light on something, and I'm producing something physical everybody can see, and it's going, no, you can't just brush this under the carpet. There's a fucking great big billboard saying where you've gone wrong.
Now let's move to today's perspective on the programme. The British Prime Minister Boris Johnson lies to embellish reality, lies as a game, but also as an instrument of power.
What we're seeing is entrenched privilege.
Why are the people at the top, why are they ever going to want people like you or I taking the jobs that they want to go to their privately educated sons and daughters?
When will the Prime Minister finally apologise for his derogatory and racist remarks?
Multiple media organisations are reporting that Mr. Johnson said he would rather see bodies piled high in their thousands than impose a third coronavirus lockdown.
I did the Boris billboard to combat the constant ego and bluster that you're shown, and it's all the smoke and mirrors of politics. It's a reaction that says, no, things aren't all going great. you know, you messed up a hell of a lot of things here. A lot of people have died. That's the shame. That's the shame on you, Boris.